Hello folks, hope you're having a good day today. Happy Halloween. I wanted to do this story for you specifically for today, Halloween. I'm going to post it this morning and so forth, so you'll have a chance to take a deep dive into it. And the short story we're about to look at is by Neil Gaiman, and it's called A Study in Emerald, and it was published very recently, and it actually won a Hugo Award for Best Horror, and I think also won a Stoker Award too, for Best Horror Story that year too. So that is A Study in Emerald. Now, A Study in Emerald is published in this collection, Shadows Over Baker Street. Basically in it, what's going to happen is that our good people that are writing for this collection, this is a Del Rey publication too, and so forth, but the people who are writing for this publication are writing it as a combination of both the Sherlock Holmes mythos and the Cthulhu mythos, and so forth. And since both of those are kind of in the public, you can do it easily. Now, A Study in Emerald, just so you'll know, is about 24 pages in this collection and so forth. So what I want to do is give you a brief sort of synopsis of it, and then we'll take a look at some of my reviews of it and so forth. Now, normally something that was written in the 2000s, even if it won a Hugo Award, would not normally be something that I would really kind of give a review for you. But I felt that, hey, a review of a Hugo-winning Cthulhu Mythos and Sherlock Holmes story by Neil Gaiman on a Halloween. I mean, come on now. How could I not give you that? How could I not do that for you and so forth? So we're going to take a look at A Study in Emerald here in a moment and so forth. But it's an incredibly well done story, and it's just incredibly masterful and so forth. And so you definitely are going to want, if you've not read it, and so forth. And you can find it online in a few places. He actually has it online on his website, so you can easily just go and read it. And so forth. It's 24 pages in my oversized connection. It took me, I think, my first time I read a little over an hour, like maybe an hour and 5 minutes, an hour 10 minutes. I've read it now so many times. It's probably my second or third most read Cthulhu Mythos story, and that's why I wanted to give it to you, kind of ending it. It's also not as strong in the mythos as some of the other stuff that we've read earlier, that you need to have read some of the earlier things to build on. Like a lot of Generation 4 mythos stories that were written starting from 1980 to through now, they sort of remove themselves from the mythos as much. They're less a subgenre of horror, and they have much more. I think they have much more freedom to breathe and be strong stories, and so forth. And so I genuinely believe, for those reasons, that Generation 4 stories tend to be much more stronger than Gen 2 or Gen 3 stories. Gen 2 being from 40 to 60, and Gen 3 being from 60 to 1980. And so forth. But those were much more about building the mythos up, adding elements to it, like other great old ones, adding elemental elements to it, adding a good versus evil element to it, and so on and so forth, and adding more and more stuff to the mythos. And a Lynn Carter work will be more interested about who is this person that got mentioned in a single throwaway line in a story 20 years ago. And so he'll write a story about that, coming to it as a mythos story, whereas most of the stories that are I think in the fourth generation, especially the ones that are good, are going to be ones that focus more on a story that's good and then adds mythos elements to it as window dressing or to strengthen that story than it is as written specifically as a mythos story. So that's what we're going to be doing. It's taking kind of a deep dive thus into this collection. I think the collection is great, and the first story therein, again, will be A Study in Emerald. So basically what's going to start off with happening in A Study in Emerald, and if you've never read a Sherlock Holmes story, it's so what's going to happen is that you read the stories and so forth, and they're being written first person by Dr. Watson. And so forth. So you're going to do the same thing. We're going to be starting off with Dr. Watson telling us about a story that's ongoing, and the detective, of course, and so forth. So you're having your normal sort of stuff that's happening and so forth. And in this case, they're going to be encountering something very unusual. There is going to be because now we're sitting in a world where both of these things are combined. And so you're going to have a case that is going to be somebody who has attacked the noble blood over in England, and so forth. And so you're going to be taking a look at this case, and what's happening, and the mystery that's come about. And our two main characters are going to be happening over. They're going to take a look at the situation, sort of unpack it, try to figure out what's happening, and so forth. They're going to see that the blood royale, which is emerald, in order to imply that Cthulhu or some of the followers or similar people, allies and so forth, are now sort of in charge of the British Empire, and so forth, have been attacked, and so forth, and blood has been spilled and so you're going to be looking at ambassadors, and so forth. As you start to kind of take a deep dive into this world, that Gaiman does a great job fleshing out in a very sort of Holmesian style way. Sherlock Holmes is just incredibly well done. He also will take a look at a number of different things that are happening and so forth, who is taking advantage of it and so forth, and he's going to be finding some rebels that are trying to push against the Cthulhu and there are folks that are sort of in charge of the British Empire and many of the other things that are happening at that time, and so forth, and the queens and so forth. So you're going to find out who's trying. So you're going to find out who it's happening from, and so forth, and how our good detective here is going to find out a way to solve it, and so forth, to solve it, and then to put him down, and so forth. So there you are. I'm going to leave it there for you. Just a quick little spoiler for you. It's 24 pages long. It won't take you that long to read. And again, you can go read along online. You don't have to read about pages if you don't want to. Neil Gaiman has it posted on his website, which I appreciate. He actually has a lot of these little stories too. That once he's gotten his money from them, he'll put them online so you can go and read them for free. I appreciate that. So thanks. But anyway, you can go take a look at that and read it for free, and so forth. And then. So let's do a quick little sort of a review of it, since I don't want to give you any spoilers. As a review, basically, it's just such an incredibly strong and well-done story. It's very evocative of both a Holmesian style. I mean, if you go and read if you've read anything that was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle set in the Holmes universe, it definitely feels like that. It has that feel to it. Instead of it being some of the other people who took this more as a what would happen if a Holmes or a Holmesian-like character came across Cthulhu, and it was more of a mythos story. This is more of a Holmes story that has a mythos element to it, but it's not a strong one by any stretch of the imagination. It has you're going to have your two heroes, the good doctor and the detective, but you're going to also have and it's going to be just basically. I mean, if you've read A Study in Crimson, which is sort of an homage to. As a study in as you would assume it from A Study in Emerald, as the title, right? Then you would definitely be, or if you've read that story, or if you've even just seen the movies or something like that. There's been an episode of it in the modern Sherlock Holmes stories and so forth. It's been well loved and well received by a lot of people. So if you've read it, or if you've read any of the stuff that's been written by Doyle, you'll see that this is very much a sort of normal story that you would expect. They're finding information out. They're doing a deep dive into it, exploring, finding information out, and so forth, that obviously only our detectives are going to see and notice and so forth, and you get the idea. You're going to flesh out the world that way too. So it's very strong and very well done. But it's going to be more set in a world like what would happen if the monarchs and the people who reign the empire were from the Cthulhu mythos, rather than so it has more of a high brow sort of base what if is kind of going to be the one that he uses as a part of the story, which I think is very, very, very strong and very evocative. So check it out. And then that's it. It's a Hugo Award-winning story. You'll like it. You will not be time well spent. And again, I consider it one of my probably top 5 favorite Cthulhu Mythos stories by any writer ever, period. And end of the discussion. So check it out. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you've read it, let me know. I'm also happy to engage plot points with you if you want to talk about them and so forth, or do a little bit of a deep dive with those. I'm happy to sort of unpack those for you and so forth, and in the comments below. Also, if you watch this video and you enjoyed it, there's no reason not to hit that subscribe button, because hey, we all have busy hit that subscribe button, because there's lots of these sort of classics that I'll follow. I enjoy sort of reviewing and unpacking horror, fantasy, and science fiction classics that are from a long period of time ago, not 2000s, but older, things like that. And if you watch this video all the way to the end, please feel free to feel appreciated, because it's just, I mean, we have so many things that are happening in our lives, right? We're all busy days, busy lives, and so many things happening. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's really humbling. So I really want to take a moment to let you know it doesn't go by without me appreciating that you're spending that time and putting it into it. I'm never going to take that for granted. So once again, thanks.